Legacy Motor Club sues Rick Ware Racing over a charter transaction gone wrong, and NASCAR hands out big penalties for Saturday night's Martinsville race. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Never a dull moment in the world of NASCAR. We're looking at legal documents today, but don't worry. This has nothing to do with the NASCAR versus 2311 front row antitrust case. Instead, two separate Cup Series teams are now embroiled in a lawsuit. Yesterday, April 1st, Legacy Motor Club filed a lawsuit against Rick Ware Racing. It may have been April Fool's Day, but this is no joke. I've read through the entire document. Much of it is blacked out, redacted, but here is what we know. Legacy Motor Club says that in January of this year, their CEO, Cal Wells III, met with Rick Ware and Rick Ware Racing representatives about purchasing one of the Rick Ware Racing charters for the 2026 season. Legacy then says that on March 3rd of this year, the two teams executed a charter purchase agreement and agreed on payment terms. Legacy says this document was both signed and initialed by Rick Ware Racing representatives. But now, Legacy says Rick Ware Racing is trying to back out of the deal. They say they've tried talking to Rick Ware Racing, but Rick Ware has told them they will not sell them the charter. So, Legacy Motor Club has responded by filing this lawsuit. Again, most of the document is redacted. Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic first brought this court case to everyone's attention, and he reported that the disagreement centers around when the charter was going to be transferred. Apparently, Rick Ware Racing thought this deal was for the 2027 season, while Legacy Motor Club insists it was for 2026. According to The Athletic, Rick Ware Racing says that Legacy changed the dates without telling them, while Legacy in this court document says that no, Rick Ware Racing signed and initialed every page of the agreement. They say the dates were all in there, so that is ultimately the core of this disagreement. I'm not a legal expert, and I haven't seen the contract that Rick Ware Racing allegedly signed, so I can't tell you what's going to happen next. I can talk about what this might mean for Legacy Motor Club, RWR, and RFK Racing could be implicated in all of this. First, Legacy Motor Club, they want to expand to a 3-car Cup Series team as soon as next year. That's a big deal. Currently, they run the 42 and 43 cars full-time for John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones. They run the 84 for Jimmy Johnson part-time, handful of races here and there, but adding a third full-time Cup Series team would be quite the undertaking, and it's debatable whether Legacy Motor Club is ready for that. They've struggled the past couple of seasons. It's early in 2025, 7 races in, but John Hunter Nemechek at least is 17th in points. He's just outside of a provisional playoff spot. Remember, within the Toyota Cup Series ecosystem, there's Joe Gibbs Racing and 2311 that share data, collaborate very closely. And then there's Legacy Motor Club over here, who's built out their own database, currently on an island, more or less. The team is now majorly owned by Jimmy Johnson. Maury Gallagher has taken a step back. They've made small gains early this season, but are they ready to add a third full-time team? That is debatable. And who would drive the car? Is this a possible landing spot for Corey Heim, who I believe is the top Toyota prospect? Maybe, but Heim recently signed a development deal with 2311 Racing, who again is over here. Yes, it's still under the Toyota umbrella, but there's kind of a dividing wall here between Legacy and 2311 JGR. So I don't know if Heim to Legacy makes sense. He's raced for them before in a substitution role, but that was a couple years ago. Maybe this third car is for Corey Heim. Maybe it's for somebody else. It's too early to say for sure. But like I said earlier, RFK Racing could be implicated in all of this. RFK expanded to a third full-time Cup Series team this year. They added the 60 car for driver Ryan Preece, but they didn't purchase a third charter. They are leasing the Rick Ware Racing number 15 charter, renting it for the season, while Rick Ware continues to run the number 51 car using their other charter. Now, this rule may have changed under the new charter agreement, but under the previous charter agreement, you could not lease the same charter back-to-back years. So regardless of what happens with this Legacy Motor Club suit, RFK Racing would not be allowed to lease the same number 15 charter in 2026. They would either have to lease the 51 charter, maybe, or they'd have to purchase a charter outright. But that's why this Legacy Motor Club lawsuit now confuses things a bit, because say Legacy wins the case and Rick Ware is forced to sell one of their charters. Which charter are they selling to Legacy? Was the deal for the 15 charter, or was the deal for the 51? If the deal was for the 15 charter, okay. But if the deal was for the 51 charter, then RFK Racing's only option would be to buy the 15 charter, but then Rick Ware has no charters left to run himself. Maybe that's his plan. Maybe Rick Ware Racing sees a way out of the NASCAR Cup Series. I mean, this season has been abysmal. Cody Ware, Rick Ware's son, driver of the 51, is last in points among full-time drivers. He's started all 7 races, but he's still tied with Jimmy Johnson in points, who made only 1 start. The Rick Ware Racing number 51 is the worst team in the NASCAR Cup Series right now. They'd made some gains in recent years with drivers like Justin Haley, JJ Yaley, Ryan Newman, Brennan Poole, Corey LaJoie, some veterans. Chris Lawson was doing great work there as crew chief, but Chris Lawson left in the offseason, and they put Cody Ware, the owner's son, back in the seat, and the wheels have metaphorically fallen off at the start of 2025. Rick Ware has other racing ventures and other forms of major motorsports. Maybe he sees this as the time to slowly but surely phase out his NASCAR Cup Series program. It sounds like, according to The Athletic, he was fine selling this charter for 2027. He just didn't want to bow out a year earlier. We'll see what happens if Legacy Motor Club wins the case and Rick Ware is forced to sell one of their charters to Legacy for next season. Then the question turns to RFK Racing. Does RFK buy the other Rick Ware charter? Are they able to lease the other Rick Ware charter, depending on the rules and depending on what Legacy buys? It's a little confusing. It's a little muddy. I hope this mostly makes sense. Difficult spot for Rick Ware and Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing to be in right now, in my opinion. I mean, it's a difficult spot for Legacy if they thought they had a deal and apparently Rick Ware disagreed. We'll see what happens. Another lawsuit. We'll be tracking this over the course of the season. We'll see what happens. But yeah, shocking report to say the least. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think Legacy Motor Club wants to do with that 3rd charter. I know Heim used to be a Legacy development driver. I think last year or the year before he signed a deal with both Legacy and 2311, which is why he subbed for Eric Jones a while back. But this year I think he's a 2311 guy. I don't know if he has a deal with Legacy. I'm sure they could share both Toyota, but yeah, I don't know. Is this the right spot for Corey Heim? Just spitballing here. Anyway, let's move on, because after Saturday night's Martinsville Speedway Xfinity Series debacle, NASCAR felt they needed to take further action. Sammy Smith, who was responsible for crushing Taylor Gray out of the lead on the final corner, has been docked 50 points and fined $25,000. Also worth noting, Taylor Gray and Jeb Burton were fined $5,000 each for an altercation inside of the infield care center. Not with each other. We saw Taylor Gray was upset, obviously, with Sammy Smith. Jeb Burton made a post on X. It sounds like he was just frustrated with everybody. He got caught up in that last lap crash and wanted to go, as he put it, teach some young drivers some respect. We had altercations with drivers racing with no respect. The care center isn't the place for that. The fine isn't for what we did. It's where we did it. I stand up for myself and my team no matter what. I felt like nothing was being done, so I wanted to handle it myself. Glad to see NASCAR do something today to draw the line. I agree with that last sentence as well. I am glad NASCAR condemned the move Sammy Smith made on the last lap. Remember, last year they penalized Austin Dillon after Richmond, but it was unclear if that penalty was more for the Hamlin hook or the initial contact with Joey Logano. So the line had not been clearly drawn. The line is clear now. This penalty to Sammy Smith effectively sets the precedent that you cannot completely overdrive the corner and intentionally wreck somebody to win a race, or to try to win the race. It didn't work out for Sammy Smith Saturday night. I'm glad NASCAR has drawn the line. 50-point penalty is pretty huge. That knocks Sammy Smith from, I believe, 6th in the driver points to 13th. I'm glad NASCAR issued a penalty. I'm glad they've set this standard. My only critique, the only thing I would change going forward is this could all be simpler. Rather than having to wait 3 days, nearly 72 hours to find out how NASCAR is going to rule, race control should be empowered to rule on these incidents in the moment, at the track. Within a few minutes of Saturday night's incident, NASCAR should have announced that Sammy Smith would be assessed a tail end of the line penalty, effectively scoring him as the last car on the lead lap. They should have issued a rough driving penalty right then and there. I just believe that's better for the fans. That way, by the time fans are leaving the grandstands or are turning off the TV broadcast, they know exactly where Sammy Smith finished. It's the same reason NASCAR expedited the post-race inspection process. Remember, up until a few years ago, we would have to wait days to find out if the race winner passed or failed post-race inspection. Sometimes, randomly on a Tuesday or Wednesday, NASCAR would send out a bulletin that the race winner failed tech. Their win had been encumbered or was no longer used for playoff eligibility, or there was an extra penalty. Like, we'd find all that out Tuesday, Wednesday. But now, inspection is complete by the end of Sunday night. We don't have to hold our breath for days anymore. We know by the end of the weekend who won the race that weekend. That's how it should be. Whether it's Austin Cindric intentionally hooking Ty Dillon at Coda, Austin Dillon or Sammy Smith trying to smash their way to a race win, NASCAR should be comfortable making that call in the moment so that fans know, watching in the stands or at home, exactly what happened to their favorite driver by the time the weekend is over. Sure, if NASCAR had penalized Sammy Smith on Sunday and scored him as the last place finisher or last on the lead lap, it wouldn't have been as severe as the 50-point penalty he was handed today. In my opinion, it's still a big enough penalty to ensure these drivers don't try those kinds of egregious moves again. The only reason Sammy Smith tried to wreck Taylor Gray is because he thought that was his only chance to win the race and make the playoffs. NASCAR set the precedent today that we won't allow that to happen. You can set the same precedent, in my opinion, by making the call in the moment. And I think that simplifies the whole process. That's my only critique of this penalty report. I'm really glad they did something about it and drew this line in the sand. I just believe you can make these calls in the moment and it would be better for the overall fan experience. That's my take. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you glad NASCAR penalized Sammy Smith? Was it too harsh, too lenient? Would you rather them make the call day of? Let me know down in the comments. That's going to do it for me. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more NASCAR news and commentary every single day. And a big thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. Brad Keselowski joins the show this afternoon. Full interview coming soon. Hope you'll stay tuned for that. Thanks again for watching, folks. I'll catch you in the next video.